morning, traders. I'm Dennis Dick.
And I'm Joel Elconin. Welcome to Pre-Market Info.
Facebook was breaking out through the $30 level yesterday, is up again here this morning. It is an earnings warning party. We've got Tiffany warning, Mollycorp warning, Aeropostale warning, all lower in the pre-market. Microsoft getting downgraded at Morgan Stanley. And Wells Fargo is going to report earnings tomorrow. Joel, how's it going?
Not bad, not bad. Who's been telling you Facebook's been a buy since 38?
You were telling us a 42, though, weren't you?
Whatever the high print was.
At least you stayed with it. At least you stayed with it, Joel. We'll give you that. You've been bullish the thing forever. You never got off the bull bandwagon. I got off the bull bandwagon. I had actually bought the stock on the way down at 25, and I was like, oh, and that thing got down to 18. It got back up to 23, and I dumped it from my investment portfolio. So I should have stuck with it, too, and I did not. And, man, it keeps on going up. It's up here again this morning, 30.76.
Yeah, making a new high for the move. Broke out yesterday over that $30 level. You had a bunch of tops in that area, just sliced through there like a hot knife through butter. Looking at the pre-market activity, you got a high at 30.78. Probably some stock lingering out there at $31. Probably not a whole lot. And then also filled that gap that we had from a long time ago. The next identifiable point of resistance is the 31.07 high way back on July 13th.
Apple is up this morning as well, getting a nice bounce here because yesterday it was starting to look weak, so I'd like to see that. That $7 bounce here this morning. CEO, Reuters reporting, is meeting with the head of China Mobile today, so maybe that's your driver here. Stock, get a nice lift here, Joel.
Yeah, I think I could recommend a swing trade here. Perhaps buying the stock at 525 in this general vicinity, putting a stop in at below 500 because it just does every time it seems to get down that area, bounces, and then make your target 999.99 since the stock's going to 1,000. So how's that for a risk reward ratio in Apple?
Little sarcasm there. We don't do recommendations, but regardless, 524.90. You are getting upwards again here. Like, it was looking awful yesterday afternoon. It really fell off a cliff right around 2 o'clock. It ended up losing about $8. It's got all of that back. But we have been finding resistance up here in this 525 to 530 area, and we're approaching that again here this morning, which makes me a little bit cautious. I just can't jump on the bull wagon here yet. Although, like we were saying before, the upward trend was broken a week and a half ago. It's come back to test the validity of that trend, or the downward trend was broken a week and a half ago. It came back to test the validity of that, and it is holding above that old downward trend. So as long as it continues to hold above there, we could eventually, I'd love to see this thing eventually get above 532. That's where I'm going to get bullish, when it starts to break out above 532. And here it's kind of just chop.
Well, in all seriously here, you do have some reference points actually in the area that we're trading at now. We are trading at yesterday's high, which was 525.01. We're trading through that. So, if you're brave, you want to take a shot here, give yourself a couple points on the, 522.5, 523, and maybe we'll make a run up to that 531.89. That's the 2-day high, because I don't see any formidable resistance between 525 and 531.89. And then you break above that, and then you got another 8 points of air as well.
The Goog Monster, it's trading up here again this morning as well, is lifting up and making a new high on the move. 742. High from 4 days ago was 741.47. So Goog going to be breaking out here again?
All you have to do with the Goog is just do the opposite of what I told you. We were talking about.
Nervous.
I was talking about it last night. I was thinking that 741.84 was going to hold. Now you're just getting up into this whole vacuum area. We repeated this again. You had a high. It's 759.42 before the faux pas with the earnings release. You're grinding your way back up. We will have to check to see when earnings are going to be released and that. You would have to think that some people would want to take some money off the table before that earnings report, but that's not the case.
Got a few other stocks that are moving here this morning, and they're all to the downside. It's an earnings warning party.
Now, why are
Tiffany.
the S&Ps up? Why are the S&P?
The S&P just shrugs off all this fundamental news. They don't care. The market don't care. This is the honey badger market. Don't care. Just keeps on grinding higher despite whatever the bad news is. Facebook driving it higher now. Whatever stock's going up, that's what's going to drive it higher. But I tell you, it's not Tiffany's today because Tiffany's is trading down over $4 right now in the pre-market. Actually over 5, 57.97 after closing 63.26. They came out, said earnings going to be at the low end of their previous guidance, somewhere down the 320 vicinity. Not good for Tiffany shareholders.
Yeah, and it's like you can't ignore the volume here in this move. It's traded over 500,000 shares here. Looking at the pre-market dip, 57.30's been the low, getting a slight recovery here. I'm using 58.50 as minor resistance. At 57.30 is taken out, Dennis. I'll bet a wooden nickel that the $56 level will provide support. You had three lows.
Big level.
Yeah, 55.83 and 56.11. So if that 57.30 doesn't hold up, we'll be looking for $56.
Another stock down this morning, Molycorp MCP stock trading down 80 cents right now. They had a revenue warning. So it's trading through that $10 area. Had a couple lows there, $9.95 and $10 right on. We are trading just through there right now. If it does take that area out in the regular session, you got a gap down there.
Yeah, you got 944 as low in the pre-market. I think that should be pretty good support. We are 50 cents away from that. I would look at that area. Looking at the charts, you had a few lows at that area, but it was pierced in December, and you got down to the low nines. But I'm looking at 950 as support in that stock. Coming back on the upside after you made that low, you did get a bounce up to 1050, but on the next rally came in a little bit lower. So $10 be a good swing number. Looking 1050 as resistance.
Aeropostale cutting guidance down to 20 to 24 cents. Guidance was up at 36 to 41. Stock is down $1.50 here pre-market. Not looking good for Aeropostale.
Give me the symbol.
ARO. Come on, Joel. You know these.
I did AEO.
Oh, AEO is down too, though. So that's that's the other one. That's American Eagle. It does move with Aeropostale too. We'll get to that one in a second. But ARO trading down here near the $12 area.
Well, just because you're in those stores all the time, you know the symbols. I don't go into them. Looking at this stock, it's been going nowhere here since for several months here. Been range bound between like $12 and a half, $13, and then the upper end of the range is 15. You're breaking down now. You did get a spike low in the pre-market at 11.40. You are 50 cents away from that number. I'd keep an eye on 11.40. I'm sure some sellers will line up here a little bit. The people are caught at the $12 level, but it's way open after that. The low of the move of this stock has been 11.76. Which we hit in October. So got some reference points here at the 1160, 1170 level.
American Eagle Outfitters, a lot of traders do trade and pair trade those two stocks together. So AEO is weak off the Aeropostale guidance this morning. It's trading down 80 cents at, well, actually, it's only had one trade at 20.30, but it's offered right now at 19.85 with no takers, which would put the stock down 80 cents. I think you're going to probably see that low tested that we set just back on the 27th at 19.29. Starts to take that out, and then it starts to get real interesting.
Yeah, I mean, if somehow that gets a rally back up into the mid 20s here,
no
you
way.
had multiple highs
No
between
way.
20 50. Okay, no way.
I don't think so.
I'll stop talking.
I don't think there's no way it gets back into the 20s today. I think you've seen the end of the 20s on this thing.
Because you'll have, what, 7 million
I'll be
shares?
selling it if it gets back into the 20s, yeah.
Okay, 1929 is a good reference point. Going back to end of November, you had a low at 1919 and 1930, so that'll be your support levels.
Couple we want to focus on. Wells Fargo actually reporting earnings tomorrow morning. Stock is trading up about 20 cents here in the pre-market, 34.90. The high yesterday got up to 35.15. We had a high back 35.19 on the 18th. I'm seeing some pretty significant resistance in the 35.25 area from an order flow perspective. So that whole 35.20 area could give you some initial resistance. Obviously, there's a nice uptrend here. I'm going to redraw that trend. What's your take here, Joel?
Multiple highs here between 35 and 35.20. Obviously, some institutions trying to lighten their load here in this area. Interestingly, that fills the gap that you had back in October when the stock, I believe it was last earnings report, has come all the way back. I just think people will be pairing positions here between 35 and 35.20, and then coming back on the downside, you have multiple lows between 34.45 and 34.66, so could be range bound ahead of earnings.
We'll get you some numbers on Wells Fargo too for you guys who are trading the Wells Fargo ahead of earnings there tomorrow. We'll put them up on the site. Couple downgrades. Microsoft getting downgraded at Morgan Stanley. Stock trading down 16 cents here on the pre-market at 26.54. That's putting it at the bottom end of this channel that we've drawn. This is, a classic channel for the last 2 months. Been on the upper end of it's been 27.77. The lower end of it's been 26.26. Are we going to test that today?
25.39's been the low in the pre-market.
How low did it get?
It got to 25.39.
That's got to be an oddball tick. That's got.
I see pretty good volume trading there.
That?
And the bar at between 8 and 8.05.
No, that's got to be some type of match trade or something. I don't have
26.39.
Oh, 26.39. Joel, come on, your handles are messing me up here. Sort of.
I think your ears
25.39. You said 26.39 makes sense to me.
You know what? Our listeners don't notice it. Why do you have to notice it?
I was like, what? 25.
Yeah, you're like,
I'd be buying that thing down at 25.39, 26.39.
I don't know if the Morgan Stanley analyst is looking at the chart. I mean, if you look at this thing and he's looking for bad numbers, obviously, from the stock. We've talked about it for a while. This is major support area. If you want to buy it, try it in this area for a swing trade. I'm just not putting a lot of stock in this downgrade here.
Yeah, you're at the bottom end of the range. It has worked a few times in the past to buy it down here, but it keeps coming down here. Eventually, it might take it out. I'd definitely put a stop in. Don't let this thing start slipping down. You buy this thing in the 26.40, 26.30 area. Don't let it start trading 26.10 and start taking out 26, because then it starts to get real ugly. When these things do break out of the channels, they can go for a while because there was a lot of consolidation in this whole area for the last 2 months. So there could be a sustainable move. We just don't know which way it's going to break out. It's going to be a breakout to the upside or the downside. It's looking like it could happen to the downside, obviously, as we approach the bottom end of the range. And Morgan Stanley obviously thinks that too. But
or they have an institution that's trying to reel in the end of short, and they give the downgrade, they get a downdraft, and they're in there buying. But that's a conspiracy theory.
Conspiracy theory.
Erase that from the tape.
Erase that. Ford. Ford is increasing their dividend here, doubling it actually. The quarterly dividend's going up to 10 cents from 5 cents. Stock trading up 33 cents here this morning. Some love for the Motor City here. It's making a new high on the move.
Yeah, 13.84 has been the high in the pre-market, trading at 13.80. That's a huge move for Ford. The volume, though, you can't really slough it off.
2 million.
It's 2 million shares. I don't know how many times I've seen this stock have a large move like this and, make a high in the pre-market or near the open, and then it kind of come back in and fill the gap area. In order to fill the gap area today, though, we're going to have to come back down to 13.60. So if you are getting short early, line your bids up, 13.65 down to 13.60, maybe to catch that initial swoop down. Boy, this is the highest old Ford's has been trading in quite a while. You had a high back in September of 2011 at 14.22. But you know what? I'll tell you. Here's some fundamental information for you, Dennis. I tell you, up until probably 3 or 4 years ago, I didn't have one Ford in my family.
Really? Okay. I got 2 of them.
Well, now I got 4 drivers.
And how many Fords do you got?
Guess how many Fords I have?
4.
Well, yeah, three,
Three.
three. Well, the Mazda,
Oh, the Mazda.
Well,
They allow
Mazda.
you to have that in Detroit? They allow you to
No,
have
no,
those kind of
no. Come on,
cars?
you're not doing your homework. That Ford has a big stake in Mazda.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay.
so I guess it's like three and a half,
Okay,
three.
so that counts then.
Yeah, so found off road daily cannot be the moniker for Ford anymore.
Yeah, they got through the crisis without any bailouts there, really. So Ford was the one that didn't go bankrupt through the whole thing. GM, obviously, and Chrysler had struggled through it, through the financial crisis. Ford held on, and man, didn't they got down to a buck back in
Fuck,
the day?
it did. Yeah,
That's
yep,
insane,
yep.
yeah. So it ended up getting down to a buck back in the financial crisis,
Well, you
obviously.
know what they actually did too? If you bought a new car, they gave you 100 shares at that point.
Did
I
they?
think they,
Oh, they said
I
they gave
think
you
they,
$100.
yeah, yeah, there was like a promotion I think that they were doing
That was
on
a
that.
great
But
investment.
let's talk about its brethren a little bit here. GM, that's been on a tear as well.
Really has. It's gonna
Yeah,
try
you
to
have a
take out that 30 level today, maybe.
well, it
Actually,
has
yeah, it
taken it
did.
out. It's traded,
30.28.
yeah, it's traded 30.23 and 30.28. So that's your major resistance point. After that, things open up in the book up until at least the $32 level. 32.08 was the high on in July of 2011. But all the people that bashed Obama, for bailing out the GM and stuff. I mean, what would happen if they didn't?
Yeah, well, obviously it wouldn't have been good for the Motor City, so we're in Detroit here. We were happy that they bailed them out. And now these automotive companies are looking a lot better, so, and Ford leading the way, it looks like here. So, overall market thoughts here. We're up here at the old high. 1463 is where we got to 4 days ago. We're at 1462 right now. We gonna break out here and start to move up and make new highs?
I mean, since we're a point and a quarter and away from it, I would wager that we will take out 1463. Especially with Apple moving up another 5 points here in the pre-market. Uh, After that, Dennis, I tell you, I've looked at the charts. I've looked at the monthly S&P. Once you get above this 1463 level, you're getting back in the levels in the S&P futures that you have not seen in a long, long time. Going back to November of 2007, you traded up to 1487.75. Obviously, we're not going to get another 20 points in the market today, but there's really no formidable resistance in this market.
So despite all these earnings warnings we've had today, look at Apple. Let's just go back to it one more time. It's 531 now. Just went up
I
another
said there was
six
no
points.
resistance between 525 and
Wow, just
530.
went straight up there. So you're starting to get up to that old 532 area again here too. So wow, the stock is on fire here again today. Obviously going to be one of your drivers here going forward. That's our show for today. Great trading day. Back with you and Wells Fargo earnings tomorrow.